strong year. It's been a strong year everywhere. So the number of sales in single family were up, the dollar volume was up, the average price was up, median income up, all that sort of stuff, up, or whatever. I think we're still comparing to what was a weird year last year, post-hurricane or whatever. So overall, we're always geared to what is the headline going to say. And the headline's going to be moderately positive, but cautiously optimistic about the rest of the year as we get through the summer or whatever. There's always going to be some minor corrections of things. I think a number of these townhouse things are just the fact that we're not building as many townhouses as we used to build. And so we have less to sell. If you only have 21 eggs, you can't sell 24 eggs, and some of these sort of things. So I think we want to show you in a number of these markets how that's working. So, of course, what I would do is take the specific pages that are related to whatever your listings are and share these with your clients or whatever. Remember, we're breaking down between existing and new construction, so we just zip all the way over to page 66 or 67. It's just easiest to get there. There's so much information. They've actually made this way too complicated. I think they need to simplify over here. But overall, just get there. So if you look at area 9, the total number of sales, basically we sold more houses, 355 houses compared to 325. Same thing, I think most indicators are pretty good. The average price is up, the median price is in range, whatever price per square foot. We're putting on fewer houses, so the inventory is moderately in check. And you've seen this, of course, if you're trying to buy a house in the 500s, 600s, or 700s or whatever, you're seeing that that's a very competitive sort of deal. Even 1 million, 1.1 million, multiple offers, selling too quickly. That thing at 829 Arlington, I don't know if anyone saw that, 1.1 million or whatever. They took an offer too soon on that. I think these people are making a mistake by not leaving these things on the market a little bit longer. Area 16, same sort of thing. Montrose doing fine here, Westview doing fine. So overall, selling more houses than ever before. Remember, even this month of May of last year was an all-time high. So you're still beating all-time highs and records on these sort of things. You go to Memorial, for those of us that play over here, Memorial a little bit more. And they've been dismal, they've been pretty dismal in some of these areas. And they were off 70 and 80% for the months of March and April. The agents in Memorial are so pessimistic, it's ridiculous. I mean, they're just negative. My Bowerly, on average, gets offers $400,000 and $500,000 less than the asking price. Kensington, we got, these are the $2 million ranges where we never could sell fall well. We tried for about 2 years. They ended up going with someone else finally. You can't blame them for that sort of thing. But I mean, it is better. That headline should be better. You're selling more houses than ever before. I think it's rebounding to some degree. This ought to help a little bit in the Memorial deal. My old Heritage Oaks, remember, we had 700 days. 700 days before we sold that deal for $1 million less than its appraised value. Now, I think people like houses in Memorial so long as they're white and updated, and when they're 25 years old with a bunch of travertine or terracotta or slate shit, you just can't give it away. I mean, and we're getting a number of these calls for these listings or whatever, and I mean, listings are good, you need some signs stay up for a while, but I mean, we're not going to be able to sell these old, outdated houses. There's this house, 216 West 9th. It's been on for 700-800 days. It's got 9 different kinds of flooring. It's adjacent to Yale. He thinks it's worth $788. I'm not sure we could sell it for $550. We're pretty far off there, right? They're begging us to list it. I don't want these listings. I mean, I gave this one to Rick to tell. I mean, in reality, these things can beat you down. They can just beat you down. They're just not going to sell. I closed 2045 Harvard yesterday. I've had that listing since April 1st of 2015. That's 4.5 years. I've had 1618 Arlington, 4 years. It's a brown kitchen with a brown bathroom with a bunch of brown crap on it. I mean, we are not going to get what they paid for it in 2015. There's no way we're even going to get that. It's just the buyers want something else, and something else will come on the market, and it doesn't even matter what the price is. If you have $1.3 million, you have $1.5 million. You will wait for something nicer or whatever. So I mean, it is clear that people just don't want 9 colors or brown or whatever it is.
Why do you think that 2045 Harvard didn't sell that? Because it was.
I think they don't, when they don't sell, there's a stigma to them.
Yeah.
There's a stigma to the fact that it didn't sell in 2015 or 16 or 17 or 18 or 19, you know, and so you have to resell that to a new agent to the area with a relocation company coming from Kentucky. They just don't realize how long it's been on the market. That's who you're going to end up having to sell to. I mean, pulling these things off after 30 days, re-entering them, trying something different. You know, back to a school, it was across the street from an apartment complex. It was nice, but not the nicest. Floor sloped a little bit, if you really looked at it. You know, not easy to overcome that sort of thing. We were smaller. The master bedroom sloped this way. There were a number of reasons that I think. But overall, very positive. If you jump to existing versus new construction, what was just kind of interesting, I don't know if you can zip all the way to like new construction and
we'll try
Memorial or some of these deals. I mean, the amount of new construction is so small. I mean, one new construction is all that we sold. And we sold 3 in area 23. There's just not that many for sale. There's 47, 40, you know, and you're only selling that many new ones. Now they're not finished, but it was interesting to see that there's just not that much new construction even out there as a percentage. This doesn't mean any of these are ready to be sold. It could just be on the market, or could be fixing something. But overall, I thought the market was good. I do think it's hot in the summer, so now every house is gonna have termites, it seems like. I mean, this is just the month that we're all gonna have termites. They start swarming, the hotter it gets, it becomes an issue more and more and more. It's not like I don't deal with termites all the time. You're gonna have to get comfortable talking about termites and understanding the different kinds of termite stuff. I am not, you know, and I'm not an expert on termites, I'll just give you my drill. You know, these subterranean termites, which, you know, are relatively common in our area. All of these termites need a constant source of water in order to do a lot of damage. There's termites in almost every house. If we search this building right here, we can find plenty of termites. If we just look hard enough, we can find them. They're in the lumber. They ship here in the lumber or whatever. So if they don't have some constant source of water, in 1965, that wooden bungalow had a air conditioning unit in the window, and it was dropping that water, you know, grandma's house all day long, drop, 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 drop. Well, the termites found the water, and they had a constant source of eating and drinking wherever and doing damage. When there's not an active water leak or something, there's very little damage these termites can really do. They just really can't. So the overreaction to these sort of termites is that, look, almost every house has them, or they're going to have them. What is the damage that they're there? I often believe it's easier just to remove where the termite is than it is to treat, okay? If they're at the back of the house, remove the siding, remove the stud, put back the stud, and put it back on there. I'm personally convinced the chemicals are very harmful for everything. Plants, animals, dogs, children, adults. I believe Parkinson's and Alzheimer's and these sort of MS are a result of these sort of chemicals. I would never want that chemical sprayed in my house, in my duct system, on my woodwork, in my pantry. I would never tolerate it. I've had termites plenty of times at Bayland. I treated non-invasively. I don't believe in all that tinting. Like say they're pumping gas into the landscaping, into the deal. Some people love it, let them do it. There is no guarantee when they tint the house that they're going to kill all the termites. Their guarantee is that they will tint again. That's it. They read the fine print. They're not saying I'm killing the termites. They're saying we'll tint again. Their scam is that they want you to pay their renewal, $150 to $300 every year for some renewal, so that they can tent again. Who wants to move into a big house and move out again? And who on God's green earth wants them to tent with your clothes in? I mean, I would never do that. As opposed to stewards or someone who will treat where the termites are, who will track how they're getting there, will be very non-invasive for about 20% of the cost, and they will offer a 5-year warranty with no annual fee.
Did you say stewards?
Stewards Pest Control. Okay?
Stuart apostrophe S.
We are a firm believer in treating now, if your clients are hell-bent on tenting and they understand the dangers of it, and that's really what they want, but they need to understand they're not even saying they're killing with the termites. They could have termites again 2 weeks later when they move in, and all they're saying is that they're going to tent again. So I'm not a big fan of that. But we often represent the sellers, and the buyers want it. Often they get the money and then they don't treat it right. I would get in the habit of exploring another form of treatment other than tenting. But this is the time of year you're going to start seeing a lot of these tents. Basically, one company owns all the termite companies. There's Long Point, and Coastal, and Indipest. They're all owned by the same exact group. There's not a lot of competition out there. So, I mean, that's just my personal opinion. You can do whatever you want there, but I would explore it a little bit more. What else we got going on in the dog days of summer over here? We want to talk to you about I'm finishing 2.5 years of a program with the city called Walkable Places. And hopefully this thing will finally come to fruition. It's not overly impactful to residential real estate. I think it's impactful for neighborhoods that become more and more walkable. And that's mostly where it is that we're selling houses. So if you focus in Westview by the Village or Montrose on Shepherd and Fairview and Dunleavy and Westheimer or the Heights on 19th Street or Shepherd or Durham, I think it's going to make a difference of how we make the city more walkable for the next generation. We basically have a setback on most streets. The basic setback is 25 feet. We have a sidewalk ordinance. It's basically 4 or 5 feet, depending on what you're doing over there. What we found is, over the last couple of years, what we want people to do, much like this, push the building closer to the street, have a certain amount of transparency, which is glass or opening or doors, some sort of active pedestrian route, like the little seating of the restaurant, or the truck over there, or the screens. This is what the city or the urbanists are wanting. We're trying to slow down the traffic. You slow down the traffic by having something interesting to look at. The further the building is, the faster the cars go. The closer the building is, the slower the cars go. The more interesting something is. People drive by Onion Creek slowly because they're looking to see if their friends are at Onion Creek, right? So it's the same sort of concept. We could have, this mode would push this building to the back and have a big parking lot at the front where people are cutting in off of Studewood on a couple of different entrances, much like next door there. So if we don't want that, so that's what the building code dictates. Large setback, parking lot in the front, nothing much going on. If we want the opposite, we've got to find some places that we can pilot them. So Walkable Places was designed where it's context sensitive to go and put this in place. We will first, the city will implement it in a couple of areas, and then applicants would be able to go and do it. An applicant could be almost anyone. It could be the Heights Association, could be a group of property owners, could be any number of groups that could go and say, wouldn't it make more sense on 19th Street as we develop closer to Shepherd that we put the buildings closer to the street like the antique shops and Jubilee and Shade and Man Ready and all those sort of things? Or do we want it to look like Cleanus or Pinsey Spices with the strip center in front, okay? Strip center meets the code. We don't want that. We want the opposite. So you would designate a Walkable Places area. There's a process to go through. And what it does is it flips the pendulum the other way in these areas. We have a mechanism called the Major Thoroughfare Plan. It's similar to the bike plan. The city loves these layers, packs and layers of things. And that's where you would see where things are. So you have to go to the major thoroughfare plan to see how wide is the street, or how wide does the street want to be. We update that, the planning commission, every year. Sometimes they get wider, sometimes they get smaller. We have Buffalo Speedway at on Holcomb, where Three Brothers Bakery is. What street's that?
That's on Bracewood.
Bracewood or Stella Lane somewhere. That has 120 foot of right of way there. The street itself is about 50 feet wide, okay? It was designated that way in the 1940s, okay? So we don't need, it doesn't need to get much wider there. So we're going to remove the right of way from 120 back down to 80. There'll be more buildable space over here, so that then what will happen is you won't get wider streets than what it is right now. It doesn't want to be any wider. It's wide enough, whatever, which would then create more buildable space on either side of that street. So we reduce right of way, and sometimes we widen the right of way. We talk about on Harvard and Oxford and Columbia, when the street's 40 feet wide and there's nothing on it, cars go 50 miles per hour in the middle of a residential neighborhood. If you want them to not drive so fast, you have to find some way to slow them down. Actually, cars parking parallel to the side of the street do, in fact, slow cars down and make it safer for mothers and strollers and walkers and people who are just in a typical subdivision. So this walkable places is going to have designations. You'll have a walkable place. It'll look a map just like the major thoroughfare plan or whatever, and that's where we would create these setback changes. And people would be forced to build close to the road and have a certain amount of transparency, and they would have some enhanced pedestrian realm, a buffer, like the grass or where holes are, an unobstructed sidewalk, and some active pedestrian realm, much like A&G Antiques on 19th Street, much like what we have right here. And so we are giving the developer more buildable space. Instead of 25-foot setback, it'll be 20 or 10 or 0. They get more buildable space, and in exchange, they have to spend money. They have to enhance the pedestrian realm, a wider sidewalk, the buffer, more transparency. If they were Chase Bank and they don't want to put glass on the first floor, because that's where the vault is, they could exchange their transparency for something interesting. A mural, an art wall, a water wall, a green wall, something, not signage, but we gave them a credit for something interesting. We will designate, the first major designation is going to be basically all Midtown. Okay? So Midtown, we will flip the rules in Midtown. We will do it on Emancipation Avenue. We will do it on Hogan Street. These are city-initiated initiatives to kind of serve as the pilots. We chose Hogan Street because the city's redeveloping Hogan Street. And we chose Emancipation Avenue because there's a lot going on over there in that area. But once this is adopted relatively soon, any neighborhoods could go and jump up and do it again. The likelihood is that it was designed to work on Lower Westheimer, Dunleavy, Fairview, Shepherd and Durham between I-10 and 610, White Oak Boulevard, Studewood. These were places where it was designed to go. The city just didn't have any resources to hold the hearings there yet. But other people would be able to apply and start the process of going down the path. You have to have a certain amount of buy-in from the property owners. So if the property owners don't want to do it, we won't do it. You've got to get to almost a 50% threshold. So why would they do it? Well, we're giving them more buildable space. Instead of a 25-foot setback, we're giving them a 5-foot setback on average. So they get that space. If they're 2 or 3 stories, remember that could be millions of dollars. We're reducing their parking regulations so they don't have to meet the same criteria as the current standard. Doesn't mean they don't have any standard, but they would have a different standard to go. So we think that the property owners are going to want it. So will the adjacent property owners adjacent to them want it. If we do it on Studewood, what is the impact to the people on Omar, 10th, and 10 and a half? Because that's what you got to worry about too. Are those people going to bitch? They were going to get a strip center anyway. So when we did this building, we had a hearing.
And all of these people, we reached out to every one of them, several weeks at the hearing, and we said, can you put the building to the back? Would you rather have this building way to the back and I can destroy your sunshine and you can look at the back of the building? Or would you rather me push the building to the front or whatever, leaving you more sunshine? And they all agreed this was better for those property owners as well. That's what I would think. What you typically get is the back of a building and a dumpster, right? So that's what you're next to, the Vietnamese restaurant with the dumpster in the back. Here,
Vietnamese fish restaurant.
likely to get something else. When the parking's at the back, you're gonna keep the parking a little nicer, right? Because you're not gonna have just the dumpster back there. You're gonna have people, your customers are gonna be back there. So it will take some convincing of people. Let's say if there's major opposition, you're not gonna get it. Lower Westheimer, some of those people, they were complaining that cars are gonna park on their adjoining street. Yes, let's don't even pretend otherwise. If you live in Lower Westheimer and you live a block on either side of Lower Westheimer, yes, people are gonna park in front of your street. There's no way that they're not gonna park in front of your street, no matter where the building is. They're still gonna park there. It's called urban context.
You never owned the street.
That's
was never part of
the
it.
city owns the street.
It was
for the
never
benefit
your
of all of us. So I think what you're going to see is instead of more, so like the Waterworks building had to apply for a variance, where that junk shop was on 19th Street. Where there was a hole down, you have Man Ready, and then there's the cafe.
Oh, yes.
The code would require that building be 25 feet back. There is no reason on earth the new building would need to be 25 feet back, when for 100 years all the buildings have been at the zero build line. It would really be bad for the neighborhood to even let them build it 25 feet back, right? You want us to keep the historical context. But they had to go to the planning commission and apply for a variance. That takes time and money. So what we're doing, where it makes sense, is that they wouldn't have to go through the variance. They'd have to go through the variance in those areas to put the strip mall, but not necessarily build the building forward. So the goal of this, now, this isn't going to work in Cinco Ranch. We're not trying to do this in the Woodlands. We're not trying to even do it in Spring Branch. It's got to be something that's walkable. Are there people that are going to walk through this area to someplace else, or will it be a destination for people to walk to? I mean, that has to be the context of the percent. But you're going to get more and more and more of that. You look at Fairview now, where Real and Vibrant and Bruce and all of those sort of areas. I mean, you start there, but soon you'll be able to get more little pedestrian-friendly things. The average person walks to Vibrant or Bruce or Real. They're coming from that little pocket of neighborhood there. So you want more of that, I think, than just, you don't want Fairview to look like Sugar Land. You want it to look like Fairview. And the way to do that is to create, a better context-sensitive building code. So this will be up today from 4 to 6. It's our final hearing from the Walkable Places Committee. Not everyone's in love with everything about it, but that's called good government, right? Because this is 40 people on this committee, half of which are private developers, half of which are just really true neighborhood, advocates or whatever. You've got to meet in the middle over here on what's good for someone. But this is attempting to get a target in Midtown. We're very close to the announcement of a target in that little area. It'll be an urban target, which would be kind of interesting to have. You're getting more.
What's the difference?
Well, the size of the building. So they opened in Manhattan or whatever, one of these smaller 2-story kind of urban. It's not the same suburban sprawl thing that you would get at Sawyer.
And where is that coming?
It's in Midtown.
Oh. And what are you calling Midtown City?
So really from where the Pearsall David is, Brazos to 59 to 288. So yeah, I think what you're seeing those areas. The investment that's going on with the ION and RISE and all that sort of stuff is creating a whole lot of activity on that section that's needed some help.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah,
I mean, there's no doubt there's a homeless issue, the metro issue, but there's a lot of emphasis going to that particular area.
So what is the thinking, say, on Montrose between Allen Parkway and Dallas? Not even Dallas. Let's go to, say, Westheimer. these new apartments, the one that burned, you know, seemed to have a variance all the way up to the street.
Yep.
Where do they, or what's the city thinking as far as transportation? Because it is so blocked there. Are they, if by granting these variances, you'll never be able to widen Montrose, you can't really put in a train.
Well, we're hoping that people will Uber. I mean, you'll have self-driving cars, you'll have Metro.
Okay, Matt Hartzell.
You're gonna have, you have self-driving cars now, you just don't have a lot of self-driving
Yeah,
cars.
we've got 18 wheelers in Texas.
They're driving.
Oh, serious?
They'll be drone driven, I'm not sure. I just think it's not safe for Montrose to get much wider there. I mean, it's going to get denser, there's no doubt.
If you can drive with 3 lanes going along.
The,
I do, I
Just don't fix it.
Then shut up.
but that apartment complex that's burned, the one that's where LTMO or, you know, Cantina 1308 was, plus across the street, you're getting a condo building where the little
Oh,
Chinese
yeah, all
restaurant
right
is.
here, Red Artens.
But to make them go further back just meant the traffic was, on today, Montrose, the average lower, because you're adding so many more people, it won't be safe. And there will be more things that are walkable, the more that we can add retail to those deals. So on the Chinese restaurant side, so if you're going south,
It's on the east side.
on the east side, yeah, you're gonna get a little coffee shop, you're gonna get that Chinese restaurant's gonna be at the bottom of that building, and one more little retail thing, so now there's something to,
So it's the same
Go to
plan,
plan.
nothing's being, there's no thoughts that traffic, allowing more volume of traffic. Okay, this is,
bigger lanes are not necessarily our friend in the city.
You know,
right,
Montrose don't even have a sidewalk, so what do you walk?
Well, every time you get new development, you're getting sidewalks.
But those are just like a little piece of sidewalk, then you go to the road, back to the sidewalk.
Baby steps.
We have no mechanism in the city to pay for new sidewalks. It's almost $1 billion. And until we have some dedicated funding source, we're going to rely on a couple of things. Either when we redo the streets, we'll do them, probably that many, or when you get more development, we're getting more things that are walkable. So this block became more walkable than what it was before.
Like that.
Don't have another spot. Which one?
Hugo's. Restaurant.
Yeah, what Hugo's is doing, they have a patio, they want to enclose their patio, air conditioning, which is perfectly fine. In exchange for doing that, we want them to redo the sidewalk with the buffer all along Westheimer and all along Mandel. Is that what it is? So you'll pick up, you know, a couple hundred feet of new sidewalks in that area. It's a slow process. I mean, there's no doubt it's a slow
I
process.
mean, in Dallas City does it, I lived in Dallas, Oakland area.
It's just that they're 1/4 the size of our city, so it's 1/4. They have 1/4 this amount of sidewalks built compared to what we have to build. So they have 200 square miles, we have 700 square miles. It's just more sidewalks to build. So you just don't see them as much when you're going on navigation and you're not on navigation. So I mean, it's the sheer size of the city that I think.
And some of this will apply to single-family homes, right?
It will, if you're on a block that's a designated walkable place like Emancipation Avenue, the only real significant difference today is that the front door must face the building, that must face the street.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the only real deal. So it gives the Uber driver some address to go to, so he knows what you're at. It's not designed to really impact single-family residents that much. That's the only real situation here. Now, this is what I will tell you, especially if we're in the townhouse game. The next phase of this will end hopefully today, is revisions of Chapter 42. And the number one priority of the city in the urban core is to reduce the street cuts, okay? So where you have 6 townhouses and driveway, will not be allowed relatively soon. Relatively being probably next spring or the summer. Shared drives where you go down a deal and you have 4 townhouses will be allowed, but you won't be able to just cut the streets and take away what is right of way for all of us. Now that will be very controversial, and I get it because I'm in real estate. People will pay more for the townhouse without the shared drive than the shared drive.
I got it. As long as we keep allowing that, they're gonna keep going down that path. When it's no longer allowed, you're not gonna have a choice anyway. So it's not like you're not gonna buy the townhouse, you're just gonna buy this. Right now, you have the choice, share drive, no share drive. Soon you won't have that choice any longer. It just isn't reasonable to allow these people to continue to cut all these driveways, further removing the amount of all-street parking for the city.
Hyde Park.
It's very controversial, but I'm telling you, we know what we're getting now is eliminating a plenty of all-street parking. It's just not reasonable. You know, I'm in the Edu over there, you take the same thing, you just have a bunch of townhouses, so you have a block of single-family houses, and then you get a block of townhouses, all driveways, all these people's guests have to park over there for the single-family house, right? It's not necessarily fair to these people, they need some access to that right of way as well. So it's gonna be very controversial, but it is the number one thing. We today have a carrot and a stick. So we give the incentive to have a shared drive, but we can't always enable to do that. But in walkable places, the same thing. On the street designation, you can't have 2 curb cuts. You can only have 1 curb cut for every 300 feet. And you can't deny someone a curb cut. But on Montrose, where you cross the bridge at 59 and you've got the tire shop or whatever across from Museum Tower.
Yeah.
So, it's a classic example, have a lot of opening on Montrose. So they, planning commission last Thursday, were removing all of their curb cuts on Montrose.
Right.
So now you don't have no ability to come in and out of Montrose. You'll only be able to enter
On
Banks.
Banks.
You know, which is preserving more right of way.
But what they're doing there is reusing the building and.
They are, they're creating a parking area, a little parking garage that they didn't have before.
Huh.
So in exchange for the setback, we let them build to the 0 build line on Banks.
Right.
In exchange for that, we reduced 3 curb cuts and got a better sidewalk along Montrose and Banks.
Pine
Interesting.
trees.
Yep, a bunch of trees. Yeah, a bunch of trees.
So primarily all the less walkable places in the city and identify in order to.
We have we've identified what are called major activity centers, you know, which is the designation of these areas where you have a high concentration of commercial developments, usually surrounded by residential areas. So it would show you the things that are the most walkable. Yes, we designated those for areas. Doesn't mean that you couldn't have a pocket. So the same with the transit corridors, where you might have rail, but you can have buses. Buses are transit corridors also. We've had these optional performance standards similar to this, where you could opt in if you wanted to, but very few people opted in. A classic example of someone that opts in is close to me on Calumet at 288, where you get the Sure Guard storage building thing or whatever, you know, so they got setback variance. They have a bunch of glass, transparency, a bunch of doors to your storage units. That's defeating the purpose. That's not the active pedestrian realm that we're talking about. That's not the kind of transparency we're talking about. So, but we are going back, and over half of the transit corridors, we're making the performance standard no longer optional, but mandatory, where it was the most walkable. Some of the areas were not walkable, so we gave up on those sort of things and said, okay, just run that over there. And then where it happens on navigation, it becomes mandatory. We added these side streets because the likelihood is if you're at Sampson and Navigation, you're probably not going to put your coffee shop on Navigation today. It's just too difficult. You're going to put it right over here on the adjacent block. So we gave these adjacent blocks, parallel and perpendicular, about 1,400 feet, a reduced setback, and half of the exemption of the parking requirements. Because that's really where you're going to get the wine bar and the coffee bar and the CrossFit studio and the yoga studio and these things. The price is too high on Navigation. You're going to get something high dollar on Navigation and small little businesses
But what will
adjacent
be
to
the
that.
high dollar? That's always, that's
Well,
the tipping
I
point
mean-
that I don't understand, because that always happens, like with the thoroughfare, it becomes expensive and then what goes in there, you know?
Yeah.
A lot of
I mean, it
sale
could,
signs, you know?
Could be an El Tiempo, could be Nipa's on navigation relocating there, it's like that they don't have money, but yeah, it's usually gonna be apartment complex, condominiums, you know, high volume retail, our cannabis store is gonna go there over here, because that's gonna be popular.
Wouldn't you think it also becomes cheaper to do adaptive reuse because those are grandfathered in and typically have,
Well, we're trying,
they're closer to the street anyway.
Yeah.
That's what happened at Montrose in Westbury, basically, right? With that old boat sales
Yes.
shop or whatever, yeah.
Yeah, they are reusing, I mean, they're reusing the brick.
Yeah, one brick. But I think that would be a good kind of,
I think that deal, and across the street, you know, where the brick pizza place is or whatever, that setback is 0. It's on deal, it works
But it's been
fine.
there forever.
Yeah, it works fine. I think, did they not get a mattress firm or something too, that want to do something else soon?
No, I think Mattress Firm's
Is it
out
still
of
there?
that game,
Is it?
right?
Yeah, we're fewer
Yeah.
fewer
It was a real estate scam.
Yeah.
Alright.
Okay, what other sort of questions? We have Father's Day market this Thursday.
Yes.
Yes.
Thursday market this Thursday from 6 to 9. We're gonna start selling that probably around 3. So please pardon us as we like move your stuff around.
So, what day is my Rose Street thing?
Thursday.
So on Thursday also, you might think about coming to my Rose Street, which is in Memorial Park. We're having an open house from 12 to 2. To make it more interesting, we have the Assistant Director of Memorial Park explaining the $250 million revamp of Memorial Park. So they'll have a talk, they'll have all the deals. You know, a number of things are happening. The Eastern Glades are opening soon. That's a basic waterway where we can have outdoor concerts and things. They're rerouting many of the athletic fields. You will soon in 2020 have the tunnel, you know, where Memorial is separating the park. Memorial will be underground and the mound of dirt will go over and you'll be able to connect the park to both sides by that. So there's
It's called a land bridge.
that's it. So we're having a little talk about it. The talk's at 1 o'clock.
Who is
Not Shelley Arnold, who is the CEO of the Memorial Park Conservancy, but her assistant director. 6018 Rose Street.
That's a great idea.
Well, that's all Aaron.
Can I steal
I was
it?
pretty
You can
happy.
steal that
with
idea.
Yeah.
I mean, I like to do that for my.
I think making these open houses more interesting, something like that.
Yeah, besides just.
This Thursday?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yo, I will you be on that today.
Yeah. And you'll get a wider variety of people. So
And bring
that's-
clients, bring friends for lunch.
Yeah, anyone can come, of course, that's interested in the park. What else we got going on? So how are we, let's go to the website. Has
Sure.
anybody played with our new little website? It's looking good over here. Are we still perfecting a few things? Yes, Susan?
Lots of
Are we
things.
doing, what is the regulation on, four-legged friends?
You can have
Oh, yeah.
four-legged friends on a leash. Try not to pee on the carpet.
I don't do that. Neither does she. We get umbrellas and tables outside, so if she wants to go out.
Outside here?
Yeah.
Yes, we're engineering the new extension, which are these covered trellises that have to be hurricane resistant. But yes, soon we will have furniture and stuff going on out there. This website,
The dog could be up here or down there.
dog can be where we want.
But now it's okay for food.
Do I know?
Originally we said first floor thing, so.
You can bring a dog up here on a leash.
Thank you.
On a leash. All right, so we're up with this website, right?
Yeah.
And the reality of it is we are, with the new website, we are gonna get some leads. Most of the leads that have come in so far tend to come in at night, which is, that's probably a logical thing. People are sitting at home, not doing anything, playing on HAR across the world or whatever. So our basic thought is we're gonna take these leads that come in from 8 p.m. to 6 in the morning. We're gonna give them to the person who was last at floor time, who actually showed up the day before. So if you were here from 3 to 5 on Wednesday, and we get this lead at midnight Wednesday night, we're gonna go give them back to the person that was there before, to kind of reward the person that was actually here. We're not gonna get a bunch of these, but we're gonna get some. Now, if they come in at noon, we're gonna give them to the person who's at floor time at noon. But if they come in over the middle of the night, that's what we're gonna try and see how this works out. These leads, like everything else, they're not quick, they're worthless.
And so these leads, they're different because some of these people just kind of incidentally, like let's say I'm on the website and I'm just some random person and I'm just looking at houses. They have the option at a certain point when they're looking through the photos to create an account. Let's see how many times it takes me to do this. Just like, I mean, this is your typical real estate website sort of setup. And so at a certain point, it's not like a hard lead where they want to schedule a showing or they want to, you know, ask you specific questions about it. These are just like incidentally, I'm going to create an account on the Boulevard Realty website so that I can save my searches and everything like that, just like on HAR. So that's what they're doing.
Yeah, if you have a lead on your listing, it's going to you.
Yeah.
You're not taking your leads. This is your listing. it's
Same
gonna
rules
go
as
to
yard
you.
sign, yeah.
It's just the generic ones going to the floor time, or ones that come up online.
Yeah, so you'll see in a couple of emails come through whenever they start to happen. I mean, we've been live for a couple of days here and we get about 2 a day so far. And so they've been forwarded to people and I've had to like explain, hey, you know, this person just signed up and they're not inquiring about a specific property. They just happen to sign up for a search. Marianne's volunteered to kind of help y'all craft these kind of stock responses just so you can contact them right away. And then some of your colleagues here are very familiar. Marianne or Rhonda can help you with that too. Some of your colleagues here are very familiar with that sort of online lead generation thing and some good responses to give just right out of the can that aren't too.
So you're gonna give the talk on the CRM on Friday?
On Friday, yeah.
What
Well,
time is
let's
that?
just say we're gonna start at 10 a.m. to noon. And it's just gonna be like a little workshop. It only will really be of value to you if you've already given me your database. Lauren, Cheryl, David, Bill, Baldwin. I already have yours. Who else do I have? Rose, Rick, Holly, yeah, and Jerry. I have Jerry's too, yeah. So if I already have your leads, they'll be in the system by then, and then that'll make the best use of our time. Maria Heckendorn, I got Maria Heckendorn. So Friday from 10 to noon.
And they can still give you their list before.
They can still give me your list like today, yeah. And if we have it in, this is getting into the weeds, sorry. If we have your list in MailChimp and you want it in the CRM so that we can see how you would use it, then tell me and I'll do that before Friday. And then you can come to the workshop too. We'll probably have one a week for a while.
Yeah.
We'll have one a week for a while, yeah.
Okay. What other questions do we have today?
We have a whole bunch of classes scheduled now on the HAR application portal. Search Bill Baldwin, and we have a bunch scheduled.
Those are the flood class and the 3-hour class. Okay. Also, just not on the schedule.
Yes, we're through August now.
Okay. For the year or the year?
They're all at HAR. And we have plenty of other events here at the office over the next couple of weeks, just sort of random stuff. Marianne and I have been trying to work on the best way to create like a public calendar for our events, so that'll come out here this week. One of Star's clients is having like a healthcare seminar here. One of Jan's clients is going to have, pet health and wellness tips here. And it's the same thing. They're open to everybody. And so we're just going to try to find a good way to publicize them on there.
All right. I'm around if anybody needs me.
Do I need to find the floodplain?
Tony, what's going on in your world?
So go HAR.